Are out. It is a great time. Oh, I love this time. I love diving into these brackets. We got the matchups now. We know who everyone's going to face. We know what every team's road looks like to the final four. We are set. We've got Biho Lenardi, we've got Eric, we've got Leo Lenardi, we got Gino Brackets here today, as we are all set. We are all set to bring you a little live reaction. Now, we won't do a game by game breakdown yet because we got to take time to look at these games, right? We got to take about a day and a half ourselves to handicap all the games, dive into all the information, check out the matchups, how these teams face. But what we will do right now is just give some of our initial reactions, some of the juicy matchups. We'll dive into the West region. We'll go region by region, and we'll see what jumps out to us. So starting out in the West region, with you, Eric, we have the number 1 overall seed here, Gonzaga. Gonzaga will be facing Georgia State first up, the 8-9 there, Boise, Memphis. Connecticut drew the 5. Arkansas, Vermont, kind of a sexy little underdog pick right now with Vermont as a 5.5-point dog there. Then on the bottom side of the West bracket, you got Bama with the play-in. You've got Texas as the 3 seed, Michigan State, Davidson, and they set up that game with the possibility of Coach K and Izzo to get to the Sweet 16, because that the committee thinks about things like that when they set everyone up. So what was something that jumped out to you when you looked at this bracket, Eric, or tell us a few things that are on mind?
I like Boise State to beat Memphis a lot. I think the Mountain West Conference is insanely underrated. I'll let Leo, because Vermont's his team, talk about Vermont, the Hogs, later on. I think Bama's done, whoever wins between Rutgers and Notre Dame. I'm not a big fan of Texas Tech, but they got a good path to their draw is pretty good. MSU plays Davidson, who's their starting point guard was Forrest Lawyer, who was Michigan State's starting point guard last year, and then he transferred.
Yeah, so there's a lot of
other stuff going on
there. And you mentioned Boise State right now is like a 1.5 to 2 point underdog in that game.
Yeah, I like them. I like them a lot. But I think Texas Tech comes out of the bottom. It's Texas Tech, Gonzaga in the Elite 8 at the first look.
Yeah, it really feels like a really good spot for Texas Tech there. I haven't been all that high on Duke, and we've seen them struggle down the stretch. And Biho, what I like is that it's not necessarily they didn't put Coach K in an easy situation. It's not a complete cakewalk for Duke, knowing you're going to have to face either a Davidson team that was a good team all throughout the year, or Michigan State, and then you're in the same bracket with Gonzaga, who is the overall number 1 seed. So it will not be an easy trip for them to get to the Final Four. We didn't even mention Texas Tech, who Eric likes a little bit there.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. You guys have kind of mentioned the few games that stick out to me just right off the bat. It's like I love these games. I've been sitting on this take for a few weeks now that I was going to say Duke goes out in the first weekend, but I was hoping, it would be something like they gave him a cakewalk and he fell to some Bucknell type team like he's done in the past. But it sets it up perfectly. Izzo's going to put him out of his misery in the second round, and Duke doesn't have to worry about who their 1 or 3 or any of those other seeds are. I don't think they get past the second round this year.
Yeah. Leo, what are some of the things that jump out to you before we even started? You asked me if the line had popped up for Arkansas, Vermont. So I feel like that might be a spot that you're leaning in, maybe looking at Vermont as an upset there.
Man, I love this little region because this is where the madness is going to happen. I think Gonzaga's been slightly overrated all year. They're going to have a real bad matchup in that second round with Boise State. I think Eric is all over that one. Boise State can give them a world of trouble. And the team I have circled here, Vermont. I've been talking about how much talent this team has all year. They cruise to their conference championship. Not that it's a big conference by any stretch of the imagination. Team's 28-5. They can run up and down the floor. I don't love that first round matchup against Arkansas because they kind of play a similar game to what Colgate does. But I like Vermont a little bit better. Vermont can shoot the ball better. I think they're going to have a real opportunity to beat Arkansas. And if they do, listen, I think you could be looking at an Elite 8 team, and I don't see Duke making it past that second round. I actually think Davidson can outscore them. Yeah. So I'm looking at Davidson there.
This is the West region. This will kick off there will be some of the games on Thursday. Some of them I think only play on Friday. But we got Gonzaga as your 1. We've got Duke as your 2. Texas Tech as your 3. Arkansas as your 4. Those are your top 4 seeds in the West. Anything else West related before we move on? Again, we're going to dive into all these game by game, matchup by matchup. We'll look at the point spreads when they come out. We'll get an idea. But anything else to mention
UConn
about
UConn could be a little under the radar. I mean, they got they got some guards, they got some veterans. They could be a little bit of a team that's like when everyone's doing these shows right now that
nobody's really talking about,
and they could make a little bit of a run.
Yeah, it's not a bad spot for them too, especially if Leo's mentioning, because I'm not that high on Arkansas, and I've been kind of talking for a little while about how I thought a lot of their really good stretch may have been a bit overhyped. Their schedule this year was really favoring towards Arkansas. They didn't have to play on the road at Kentucky. They didn't have to play on the road at Auburn. They would have played Auburn again yesterday, and it didn't even matter because they got beat by Texas A&M in that spot. So things really broke well for them, and I don't know if that's the strongest spot there. But then on the flip side, they could beat anyone if Note goes crazy.
Yeah.
Like, if he's the guy that's the best player on the court, they could beat Gonzaga if they win 2 games and Note ends up just being the best player there. But that's what's great about the tournament. I would look to fade them early on in the West. Leo or Biho, any other things to mention out West before we move along?
Nope, not for me.
Awesome. Let's trickle down from the West and let's go down. Let's go across. We'll go sort of the way they announced them on TV and on the shows earlier. So we're up to the South region. We've got Arizona as your 1 seed. They're going to be playing against the play-in. Okay, let me have a little bit of a rant too here, Bo. You're at your rant. If a team won their conference and they have an auto bid, they should not be in a play-in game.
Agree 100%.
I hate that. The last teams from the major conferences that had crappy years that were lucky to be like teams that got in, they should be in the play-in games. All of those teams. If you won your conference and you battled and you won that tournament and now you got to have a game just to get in to go get your ass kicked by a 1 seed, I don't like that at all. It bothers me. So
yeah, no, I agree with you there. And I know they count the first 4 as an NCAA appearance, but that doesn't. I mean, that's not fair to those guys. Come on, man. Like, I agree 100% with you on this one.
Because
the thing is that just proves how stupid the NCAA is too.
Right?
Because as we all know, the NCAA, their number 1 priority is money. I mean, they're full of shit if they tell you otherwise. But like, the ratings would go through the roof for an actual first 4 game rather than having to watch Wright and Bryant.
No, you're right.
Outside of like betting on that game, who the fuck's gonna watch it?
In A&M, like the Virginia Tech, the teams that were those teams that actually have a national following, people would be more interested in watching them play, and you reward a team that's more deserving anyways. Right? Like those teams that won their conference, they're more deserving than a Michigan who is like the 7th Big Ten team that's in after a shitty year. They should have to play their way in and get really hot and get lucky, and have to beat, like they should be up against it. So there's my rant. But
it's very valid.
Yeah. Let's talk some South right now. Arizona has the 1 seed. And it seems like Kirk Chris said he's going to be playing, from what he says. We'll see what happens. Seton Hall, TCU, Houston, they won earlier today, so they locked in a 5 spot. They're playing a UAB. Illinois, Chattanooga. Chattanooga's not an easy 13. They have a situation where they have a player that might be like able to really control the game there too. So that's one to keep an eye on. We then get a little bit farther down the bracket there. We go to Colorado State 6. Now, Tennessee did sort of get screwed in being a 3 because many people thought they might be a 1. And I think Biho will have a little bit of a rant on that also. But
this is my rant.
But I actually don't mind. Like, if you look at where they are, their first 2 matchups, like to the Sweet 16, is pretty soft. Longwood and then a Colorado State and Michigan matchup. Now, Villanova in the Sweet 16 matchup isn't easy. I don't think that's the greatest, but their first couple games are soft. Go ahead, Biho. Give us your rant.
Yeah, so I don't know how many times the SEC needs to be told by the NCAA committee that if you keep playing your championship game on Sunday, it means nothing.
Less.
We are
It means
not
a lot
going
less,
to
yeah.
change anything based on your championship game. And not only did Tennessee get screwed with a 3, they probably should have gotten a 2.
Yep.
I don't see them jumping to the 1 line. I think
No,
that
me
would be
neither.
way too much.
Yeah.
But I think they were a solid 2 seed. And secondly, it cost Texas A&M being in.
Yeah.
Like, it's like that game. I don't know, man.
How could they have not gotten? They should have gotten in. They really should have. On the bubble, you win those few games. They
That's
really
my
should.
I don't know. Like, they did lose 8 in a row.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
dude.
my one thing. Like, I have a hard time, like, any team that loses 8 in a row. That's my only rebuttal to that.
No, and I get that, but it just shows that they've bounced back from that and they're playing really good basketball right now. Like, I mean, you got a team like Michigan. Michigan wasn't even in the last 4 in.
Yeah, even more than than what Eric's saying. Like, the specific teams aside, right? We can debate who should be in, but I think your point, Biho, is just that it doesn't help them being on this Sunday. It does not help them, because if you play on Saturday, you give everybody that night, early the morning, then they get most things set. All they have to do is just flip-flop if a team isn't an auto bid winner. That's really all they're doing on Sunday. And then if that happens, then everybody gets like adjusted up a line or down a line. And that's it. Really, that's it.
And
like,
and that's what's crazy. When they show the first 4 out, they show Dayton was the team that got bumped out when Richmond won. Dayton was the last one not in. And it's like, wait a minute, Texas A&M was even 4th on that list? Like, it just, to me, that is completely absurd.
Eric, what are some of the things that jump out to you when we look at this bracket, right at the South bracket?
TCU or Seton Hall, if Seton Hall is fully healthy, could give Arizona some trouble. Jordan Walker is going to be a name that everyone knows watching UAB. Seth Davis likes Chattanooga, so they're basically out in the first round. I mean, the thing about Michigan, and I understand what Brian is saying, is Dickerson is a tough guard, if he's on the court, but I like Colorado State. I like the Mountain West. I mean, I think Colorado State's going to be a sneaky tough out. Yeah,
see, I'm a little colder on the Mountain West and the WCC, and they'll have opportunities now because a lot of those teams got in. Like, one of the things that we'll hit on in a minute, St. Mary's getting a 5 to me was absurd. We'll jump on that in a second, and then I hear a lot of people that think St. Mary's has an opportunity with their defense. Leo, what are some of the things that jump out to you when you look at the South region?
Couple things stick out to me here. First, I think it's set up beautifully for Arizona, Illinois, Sweet 16. I think that is the Sweet 16 matchup if it ends up happening. Secondly, this thing's just set up beautifully for Villanova to get through. I think Villanova has a cakewalk to the Elite Eight. I know people like Tennessee, and I know, Biho, you're telling me that they should have been higher. Like, I get it, but I'm also not that high on that Tennessee team. I think Villanova should steamroll them without much of an issue. My biggest problem here, though, is how the hell is Ohio State a 7? Did the committee not pay attention in the last few weeks? Like, it was one of the auto fades of the last half of the season. I mean, they lost 4 of their last 5 games, and it's not like they lost to world beaters. They lost to Maryland, Nebraska, Michigan, and Penn State.
And Michigan didn't.
How the fuck are they at 7?
That's a great question, but it doesn't matter because they're losing the first round to the Fighting Sister Jeans.
What in the world are we talking about here that they're a 7 seed? But that's fine. Either way, Villanova's going to take care of them, even if they do sneak past Loyola Chicago. I think this is set up beautifully for Villanova to get in to the Elite. What's up?
Tom Brady's coming back. Just letting everyone know. He just tweeted out. Sorry,
yeah, we saw it earlier today. We saw that earlier today.
I know, but he literally just tweeted out, I'm coming back to Tampa.
And it's so funny. Like, isn't this a Brady thing? Like, everyone's going to talk brackets. Screw you guys. I want to be the talk, right? Like, everyone's looking at the brackets. That's funny. So we will definitely react to that. I'm sure you guys will be talking about that on the backdoor cover later tonight. Biho, I'd imagine that'll be a big topic of discussion. So, wowza. That changes things quite a bit in the NFC. We talked about the NFC on your podcast this week, Eric, and the lay of the land in the NFC was so soft.
Aaron Rodgers has to be just mad or hell right now.
Right?
What a douche. Who comes back?
Everybody.
He retired for
Brett
2
Favre.
fucking weeks,
Everybody.
dude.
Every wrestler ever. Everybody.
Dude, he was retired shorter than Ric Flair was. That's ridiculous.
That's true.
But dude, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. What were you saying about Ohio State? My bad.
No. That's fine. That's breaking news, and Brady can suck one. Yeah, no, that was pretty much all I had.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. One more thing. Fuck Ohio State for what they did to us in Columbus.
Amen. That forever F Ohio State.
Yeah.
Done with those suck eyes.
So as we chill out here in the South region, I think we got most of it. I was a little nervous as someone who's got a 7 spot, and I never like Beho said, I don't like rooting for matchups, and rooting against teams, but we all can honestly look at teams and games and say, okay, does that feel like a good matchup for our team? Does that feel like a bad matchup for our team? The one team that I was a little bit nervous of playing, I didn't want to play Loyola on a 7-10 line. Just a team that's kind of been there. They got hot again. They're a pretty good team. So I was a little bit nervous about. I'm kind of glad that we didn't end up playing Loyola as a USC fan. So on that 7-10, that's a 7-10 game where I absolutely think Loyola has a big shot to win. Let's see if that line has popped up yet, because right now a lot of the lines are just starting to come through. So any ones that we have, we can mention. I'll see that they're up there. So we're in the South right now. Some of the lines we have up right now. Michigan -3 against Colorado State. Tennessee 16.5-point favorite over Longwood. Illinois 8.5 over Chattanooga. Houston an 8-point favorite over UAB. Nova a 16.5-point favorite over Delaware, and Loyola is actually favored by 1 over Ohio State in that game. So that is a little look at the South as we head down, and let's go back across, fellas, to the East. As we will start with Baylor as the 1 seed, Norfolk State as the 16th, North Carolina and Marquette in that 8-9. They love to put those sometimes those marquee games in the 8-9. One of those teams could play Baylor. That could be pretty sexy. You've got St. Mary's, and then the winner of the play in there. You got UCLA, Akron. You've got Texas, Virginia Tech, Purdue, Yale, Murray State, and San Fran on the 7-10 line, and Kentucky there. And I thought this was a fantastic draw for Kentucky as far as their 2 games trying to get into the Sweet 16 and then having to deal with a 3 seed in Purdue. That's solid, fine, but no one that's going to scare the hell out of you. So, Beho, let's start with you because you got your Kentucky Wildcats down here. I feel like you got to be pretty happy about how they drew.
Oh, absolutely. Very, very excited to be into this bracket. Getting Baylor's the one, that's fine. No sweat there. My only argument here, Gino, and I don't know if you were on when I was talking about it earlier, is they do this to Kentucky every year. Like if Northern Kentucky makes the tournament this year, we would have been playing them in the first round, and then we will have to turn around and play Murray State in the second round. Which, look, I mean, Murray State's a good team. I know a lot of people haven't got to watch them. If we can't beat a Murray State, we don't deserve the title anyway. We got to beat somebody. The problem for me is, we like to pull for those teams, and we can't pull for them when we're playing them. So stop it, committee. Stop putting these Kentucky teams next to each other in the brackets every time. It's absurd. But, we were talking about the play-in games too, and Indiana's in a play-in game in this bracket. And that's what I'm saying. I think you hit the nail on the head, Gino. If we put those auto qualifiers in and get games with teams like Notre Dame, Rutgers, Indiana, teams like that, I think the viewership, I think people watch them more.
Absolutely. There'll be more interest in those games. It just makes sense all around. That Rutgers Notre Dame game, that should be a fun game. That should be a fun playing game for those 2 teams. I guarantee if we see the ratings for those games and the Notre Dame and the Indy Wyoming game, and you compare them to the other 2 where the 16 teams are playing their way in, it'll be night and day.
Yeah. It'll be, I mean, people watch that stuff just because it's on and it's the start. But honestly, I don't. I mean,
there's a reason that they usually start those games, the 16 playing games at 6 o'clock Eastern time, not even the prime time Eastern time, right? They started super early just because they know that it's a little bit less interesting because we just don't know them overall. And what
I'll be doing is just keeping an eye on the score. And if it gets close with 5 minutes to play, I may flip over and watch it. Other than that, I don't care. I mean, it's not again, I agree with you. I don't think it's fair to those teams at all. Like Bryant was super excited, and it's like you got to play in a play-in game, guys.
I know.
Like you won, you should be able to play
You
Kansas
should be
or
able to get in
whoever.
there, wake up that morning, you're playing. You don't have to worry about what it takes to get there. You're in. Like you earned it to be there. Wright and Bryant, they should both be in. Yeah, there's one of my gripes. I feel like today, I will say though, for as much as I don't know how much Sunday weighs in, it feels like it did help Houston a little bit today. Because I thought Houston was starting to trickle down a little, and they're still on that 5 line. Leo, tell us about what you think of the South.
First thing that's going to stick out in the South is Baylor got a 1 seed. Yeah,
No.
I didn't think that they were deserving of a 1 seed.
No, I agree. Because
that stuck out immediately.
And that was the
but I mean,
problem with this. Who was the 4th 1 seed? Honestly.
Well, I mean, they said yesterday that had Kentucky beat Tennessee, they would have locked in the 1 line.
And I think that was the reason why, because we look at it and it was Kentucky or Purdue, who could have maybe played their way up. I don't think they were really a 1. Auburn hurt themselves. They could have been a 1 too had they won. So you're right, Leo. It was felt like there were 3 teams: Gonzaga, Arizona, Kansas, because of the way they played recently, that were deserving of the 1 slot. And then by process of default, it was just like, I guess it's Baylor. I guess. Yeah.
I mean, it didn't bother me all that much. I think the road is nice for Kentucky. First thing that stuck out to me was how happy B-Ho must have been that Purdue is the 3 seed in their region, because I know how he feels about it. And part of me really wants Purdue to beat Kentucky just to see what happens on Married to the Game. If you haven't listened to Married to the Game podcast, by the way, you need to. It's fantastic. FYI, B-Host still doesn't do his own laundry, which you should be ashamed of yourself. But yeah,
for the record, though,
Married to the Game.
Can I say something real quick?
Sure.
I have probably in my entire life done 1 load of laundry.
Thank you, Gino.
My whole life. I went from mom doing it all the time to a couple different girlfriends. Now Stephanie, no, she does it too. So I have.
Me too, Gino. Sorry, some of us aren't winners like me and Gino.
I know. I got lucky. So I got I've got the ladies that have always taken care of me there. Now I don't mind doing other stuff. I'm not opposed to doing the dishes, or I'll cook if I have to, or I don't mind working in any capacity. I don't know why the laundry is just one of those weird things that I don't love doing.
I'm the complete opposite. I'm good with the laundry. I'm the worst with the dishes. I've actually been banned from touching the dishes.
Okay.
And Leo, about the Purdue matchup, Eric brought up a good point before the show. What's the big center, Edie or something like that they've got? Yeah, I mean, guys that are 7-footers have caused Oscar some trouble in the past, like a Walker Kessler, something like that. But I don't see his athleticism as good as a Walker Kessler. I don't know that that's going to be an issue for Oscar. And other than that, could they beat us? Absolutely, they could. I mean, but again, what's their road to get there? I don't think again, I don't believe in that team much at all. So,
I mean, a couple of the notes that I wanted to touch on. Do we have a line yet for Wyoming, Indiana?
I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah, right, Wyoming's getting 3.
What was that?
I believe when I looked before, it said 3.
Yeah, I will be taking Wyoming in that matchup.
3.5 now.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I wanted to talk about, UCLA got a really nice draw here.
I think so too.
UCLA is lined up. I think they have a clear path to the Sweet 16. I don't see any resistance.
And why can't they beat?
It's likely going to be Baylor, and I think they're capable of beating Baylor without much of an issue.
Absolutely.
Dude, I'll remind everybody that the Big 12 can lose at any time.
Anytime. And while their conference is tough because they have a lot of good teams, but they're not. We saw Baylor is a 1 that just lost right off the bat in their conference tournament. And coming into it, we were talking about how Kansas maybe wasn't necessarily a 1 and they needed things to break their way. And Kansas, they did break their way for Kansas. But I thought UCLA, where they're set up, Akron, then you get a St. Mary's or the winner of the play-in, and then you can get through that game. And then all of a sudden, you're at either a Baylor or a North Carolina or a Marquette, whoever got through there. I agree with you, Leo. and on some of my brackets, I'm going to have to dive in a little bit more, but at first glance, I'll definitely have one or two where UCLA is getting through Baylor in that region right there.
Do we have any, like, is there any props up or like futures out for who gets out of each region?
They will be. So I don't know if they're quite up yet. Let me see.
They only have Final Four stuff up right now.
Final Four. Do they have like
Final
winners
Four
of the
national
region?
championship.
Okay.
No, they don't have it in the region.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm just saying, I expect Kentucky to be the heavy favorite to come out of that.
plus
that
240 to make the Final Four.
Yeah.
For Kentucky.
What's Baylor?
Baylor is plus 210, so they're slight. They're right
They're
there.
slight favorite. That's shot. I bet that number
210.
flips real quick.
The one I'm
when money
looking at.
starts coming
Okay,
in.
one that I'm looking at. I see Kentucky at plus 240 to make the Final Four. Baylor plus 210 to make the Final Four in the South, and then other teams that are in the South. Villanova's a 3, right? They're plus 390. The 4 is UCLA. They're plus 750. The 5 is St. Mary's. They're plus 2,000.
Our 3 is Purdue.
Oh, your 3 is Purdue. I'm sorry. Purdue is plus 550.
Yeah.
Plus 550.
My thoughts on this now. I have Kentucky like 22-1 to win it all. I locked that one in a couple weeks ago, like early in the season. I think this is a
and right now it's nice.
I think
Kentucky is 7.5 to 1 right now, plus 750 to win the whole thing. So win or lose, if they lose their first game and get upset in a 15-2, you made a good bet, Eric.
Yeah,
because you got a much better price than you would get right now if you played that same thing.
I'm looking at this. Marquette's got Justin Lewis, who's a stud, who can put a team on the back. They can make a run. St. Mary's is going to grind it out. Wyoming's tough. Indy's tough. I'm not as high on UCLA as everyone else is. Texas has dudes. They just haven't figured it out. Purdue's got size. They can throw 2 bigs when they play Kentucky. Both Murray and San Francisco got some guards. I think this is a tough little draw for Kentucky. To be honest, as a person that's in the future,
I agree. I don't see anybody beating
Kentucky.
Kentucky.
A future ticket, I'm worried.
Well, and my response to that would be, I get what you're saying. It's not the easiest path. Let's be honest. None of these paths are really easy for anybody. We see this every year. But I will say, like, if you go round by round and who
I would not trade your spot with any of the other 2s.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if Kentucky can't beat, I don't even know who we play in the first round. St. Peter's. If we can't beat them, we don't deserve to win. If we can't beat Murray State, we don't deserve to win.
And the thing about the
next
Murray
matchup
State
would be what?
Francisco is, those are 2 teams that I know things are changing. We're seeing the WCC and the Mountain West, like the MAC, and all these teams are getting more love. How good do we know San Francisco is? Honestly,
exactly.
We don't. And Murray State, they've played really great, and they had a fantastic year. Are they beating up on a bad conference? Like, how good really is Murray State? Are they capable of competing with Kentucky? So I don't mind that 7. Like, again,
and that's what I'm saying. So, once we get to the Elite 8, or once we get to the Sweet 16, what do we play? Purdue, maybe?
Yeah.
Purdue.
Is that okay?
Would you rather have Purdue or
Purdue or Villanova? Purdue. And if we can't beat Purdue, again, we don't deserve the title. It's not one of those beat ourselves type things. Like, we have to go out and just win the games in front of us.
Even Purdue or Texas Tech, I'd take Purdue, right? Wisconsin, we're going to talk about, I think would have been the soft 3. That might have been fine in there, but
God, I want Wisconsin as far away from me as possible.
You don't want okay.
You know how I feel about that.
You've got nightmares. Any other final thoughts, Eric, on the South before we move to the Midwest?
No.
B-Hope, anything more to talk about your region?
Nope. Give me Kentucky. Kentucky's going to the Final Four.
Go Cates.
And it's funny because B-Hope, I was looking at this in for me, I'm watching this come down, and I'm watching for USC. Where are they going to pop up as a 7? I was pretty confident they were going to be a 7, and I kept saying I just don't want to be against Kentucky. That's how you know what I mean? Like, for me, because I looked at the other 2s and I thought they're all sort of beatable. But Kentucky, I thought, is actually a 1. Like, I do think Kentucky is a legitimate national champion team. Whereas, so when I saw the 7-10 pop up there, I was right away like, I thought that was great for you because it's a 7-10 of 2 unproven teams. And
Well, and like you said about USC, we'll get into that in just a second. But like, I think Kentucky is a team that's a 2 seed that doesn't have one particular style to beat you.
No.
They can beat you in the 90s and they can beat you in the 50s.
Yep.
So even if you take something away, there's something else there. Whereas, like in Auburn, you know what you're going to get from Auburn. You're going to get them jacking up threes and doing crazy drives to the lane. If you can stop one or the other, you've got a shot to win that game.
Yep. And I think as we head on over to the Midwest, we take a look. Kansas is the number 1 here. San Diego State and Creighton in the 8-9. Iowa, Richmond, 5-12. Iowa gets the 5 off of their recent success. Providence in the 4-13 here. LSU, 6-11. Wisconsin, 3-14. USC, Miami in the 7-10. Auburn in the 2-15. Now, let me say this as a fan of USC and as a gambler. USC could absolutely lose to Miami in the first game. It's not like they're some like juggernaut, but almost all of the teams that I was looking to target myself to fade are in this bracket together. There's a bunch of them. So that's what sort of got me a little bit excited. I don't like Auburn. I've been against anti-Auburn all year long and fading them. So I think of all the 2s matching up with an Auburn team where when you think about Auburn and like Riho was saying some of their size, USC is the 4th tallest team in the nation. They can throw a lot of bigs, 6'9" wing type players at you to play some defense. I don't like Providence. We've talked about Providence, how we wanted to fade them. LSU just fired their coach. They're in the 6 line. Wisconsin, I don't think is that great at all. And Johnny Davis is banged up. They're in the 3 line. So again, USC could lose immediately. They're not like a 1 seed juggernaut. But for me personally, I like the way this bracket popped up because I feel like if they do get through that Miami and then Auburn, all of a sudden you got winnable games against a Wisconsin team that doesn't scare the hell out of you, or an LSU team if they made it there that's got a whole ton of shit going on. So I know I drink some Trojan Kool-Aid, but I do like the spot. Miami was right on the cusp of even making the tournament. Before their conference tournament, the ACC was down this year. Just sort of what Biho was saying. If USC can't beat Miami in one game, then they're not very good. They're not that great anyways, right? Miami doesn't scare you, and then you're going to have to play a top 8 team somewhere. I don't mind playing an Auburn team. I really don't. So those are some of my early thoughts as a fan looking at the bracket. Let's get over to you, Eric. What are some of your thoughts, sort of gambling-wise, what you see with the Midwest?
Well, as soon as Lions opened up, I locked in South Dakota State. I've been talking about that team for a while. Yep. It's already down to 2.
You got 3?
It's already a full point. Yeah, I got 3 right off of openers. Creighton's on the fade train for me. San Diego State, that's going to be a tough matchup.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to pick Iowa to make a run here. Just a friendly reminder, they can't defend the bigs. Richmond, very senior-laden team.
They got, 4 fifth-year seniors, Richmond, that all came back just for this type of situation, just to make a tournament run, and they got in, and so they're kind of playing with house money. They're feeling good. Everyone's going to be on Iowa. I agree with you. This is one that's sort of a sneaky game.
And it's like sitting at 9 right now. Probably
how about both of them?
A little bit.
Like the Richmond, Iowa, and the South Dakota State Providence, that could be one of those little quarter brackets where we have like a 12 versus a 13. Those are 2 capable teams. Which
would be great. Iowa State's getting 5. That line seems a little weird to me. I would have thought that would have been a lot closer. I mean, I've been against Auburn anytime they're on the road or on the neutral court. I could see them easily losing to USC or Miami. That's 7-10. I think the bottom of this bracket, I think this is the weakest one by far.
Yeah, and I agree. That's why I like it. For a fan of a team that's in the 7, I didn't think with Wisconsin and Auburn, I don't think that's the strongest combo of 2 threes when you compare them to Kentucky, Purdue, compare them to what on the other side, it was Tennessee, Villanova. That's a night like those 2-3, just comparing. I thought this was not a bad spot at all. Leo, what are some of the things that jump out to you about the Midwest?
Top part of this region. It's the 1 seed I'm good with. Like San Diego State. Richmond will beat Iowa. We talked about it this morning. Iowa is one of those teams. They're going to make a run to win the Big Ten. Everybody's going to be all over them to win and make a nice little run here and then shit the bed in the first round. And they got a terrible matchup against a Richmond team filled with veterans, with a team that's
and if they win, Then they got to deal with either Providence or South Dakota State. South Dakota State is awesome. They're a good basketball team. They really are. That's not an easy draw for Iowa.
Yep. Nope. This is a really bad draw for Providence, too. I think South Dakota State has the potential to blow them off the floor, kind of the way Creighton did, too. That may be a game I look at for like an alternate line. Maybe if you find one at like -9.5, you can get it, I don't know, plus 500. I may dabble on that. Bottom half. Has the committee lost their damn mind? I mean, like, we're talking about LSU, the team that just had their coach fired yesterday, as a 6 seed, and Iowa State is an 11 seed. How in the world does Iowa State get in? Was the committee all intoxicated when they put this bracket together? They're in over a Texas A&M team that played their ass off and made it to the SEC final. I mean, Iowa State scored 41 points or less in 2 of their last 3 games.
They were living off all those early quad 1 wins. That's what it came.
You know what the problem is, though, Gino? I don't know if you know this, but they lost one of those quad 1 wins late. They had 9, and it dropped down to 8 or 7 late.
You're right.
In the season,
and that's
at
some point shit down the stretch. They got blown off the court multiple times in the last few weeks.
They were not just blown off the court; they were embarrassed the last couple times. I mean, has the committee? I mean, this is just the stuff that blows my freaking mind and like pisses me off with the committee. Like,
I mean, LSU fans have to be jumping for joy.
They had 10 quad 1 wins. They dropped down. They're 9-8 in quad 1 and just 1-4 in quad 2. So now they're 10-12 in the first 2 quads, right? Like,
it drives me nuts.
That's, and you've been playing really poorly down the stretch. So, yeah, I agree. It feels like this quarter bracket of all of them is the softest, I think.
It's just, what are you thinking that they're in the tournament? That blew my mind. But anyways, I could go on forever about this. I think Wisconsin could possibly have some trouble with Colgate. I think Colgate's a dangerous 14 seed here. After that, this thing's set up for USC. We talked about it. Gino, you nailed it. All the teams that we said that you got to fade are in USC's region. I'm not even that high on Kansas, if we're being honest. I like Abaji a lot, and I think they're deserving of the 1 seed. They could go down. This could be one of those. Again, I might be like getting a little overexcited here, but South Dakota State.
Yeah.
Could we be looking at like a George Mason type run here?
Yeah, we have, as far as 3-point shooting is concerned, South Dakota State is the number 1 shooting 3-point percentage team in the country. Colgate is 2. They're both right here. I mean, these teams can light it up from 3, and in a 1-game situation, if they get hot, you're done.
The thing with Wisconsin is if Johnny Davis doesn't go bananas, they're in trouble. I don't like the rest of that team.
But also, like, that's in Milwaukee. Like, I was there when Wisconsin played Oregon. That place is going to be was one of the best court atmospheres.
Absolutely nuts. No, you're right.
So they're going to have
home field, home court for them.
Home court advantage. Back what you were saying about South Dakota State. At the end of the year, they could have missed their last 100 3-pointers, and they would still have a better percentage than Colgate. That's how much this team can shoot the ball.
They shoot 44.2% from 3. Colgate is the only other team in the country out of 358 teams. There's only one other team that shoots 40%, and it's Colgate. They shoot 40.1. Everybody else is under 40. That just gives you an idea of how good South Dakota State is, 3-point shooting wise, efficiency wise. They are fantastic, and it's them and Colgate, Purdue, Virginia Tech as the top 4 shooting teams, 3-point shooting teams in the country. Fellas, while we're here in the Midwest, anything else to mention? Biho.
Yeah, I just want to mention what I thought about it.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
It's okay. Sorry. So Gino, earlier today you said you did, or maybe even yesterday you said you didn't want me to get too high up and get disappointed, but I'm gonna do the same to you here with this USC draw, because when I saw it come out, I'm like, Gino has to be just jumping around.
I know. I love it. And they can lose the first game, but I wouldn't trade the draw for any.
Look, that first game may be a little tough. Like, that's one of those games, you're right. Any team can win, but I like the matchup there for you guys. I think you guys can pull that game out. And if you do, then you face an Auburn team that, again, if they're not hitting threes, you see what happens to them. They're done.
Yep.
So, I don't know if you could have asked for anything better.
No, I couldn't. Exactly. I love the spot that they're in. I really do. And I love the spot that Kentucky's in too. For you, as soon as I saw that, I said the same thing. I said, you're going to be loving that spot.
I was.
Yeah. And I'm glad that I didn't want to have to play each other in that second game, right? It would have made it fun if it was like 2 more, but I would have loved for both of our teams to get through a weekend, because I think as a fan, we're talking as fans, as gamblers, whatever, I think Kentucky legitimately can win the national championship. I don't think USC could, but I absolutely think they can win 2 games and get to the next weekend.
Which would be good for you guys. Like, you would take that every day.
Awesome. And then if you win the 2 games, like I said, now it's exactly what happened for USC last year. You beat the good team in Kansas. They beat Kansas as the 3 seed. And then afterwards, you might have a game that's not even as tough on paper. You might have a game that you've got either Wisconsin or LSU or one of these teams. So, again, I'm not going and betting my USC to win it all future, but this isn't a spot that I'm going to be groaning and complaining about. If Miami comes out and beats them, you know what? USC probably wasn't going to beat many of the other spots that they would have had. But good spot for Beho. I think it's a good spot for the Trojans to try to fight on. Eric, feels like knowing some of the teams that you wanted to target and fade, I think you're probably pretty happy about some of the spots they showed up in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm liking what I'm seeing on the board. Just gonna, like I said, the only one I locked in was the South Dakota State. See how everything kind of moves. Like, I like the Mountain West a lot. I think since it was so deep, they're going to be battle tested, a little bit more battle tested than people realize. I forgot to say, I think Va-Tech is a prime fade against Texas. They're coming off playing a great tournament run in the ACC, and Texas is a small number, only laying 1.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not even the biggest Texas fan, but that just feels like more of a Va-Tech fade there. So we will be back on I think we're going to do our full bracket breakdown, I think early Tuesday, and we'll probably have it out for everyone to keep an eye on middle of Tuesday, late Tuesday. That way you'll have plenty of time Tuesday, Wednesday to hear all of our thoughts. We'll go game by game through. We'll talk about the lines for each game. We'll have a real in-depth breakdown with all 4 of us sharing the way that we filled out our bracket, some of the teams that we played. Maybe we'll each even get a future or 2 teams that we think maybe worth betting for the region. I'm excited, fellas. I love.
Don't forget, folks, this is not the only bracket that's going to be coming out over the next couple days. We have the Capper versus Capper bracket challenge bracket that we will be revealing maybe tomorrow, maybe Tuesday. We'll see when we're going to do it. But there is a big bracket. The tournament is filled. The 64 are locked in. Your boy's taking it. But we're going to see who's going to be able to come in second.
Want to share one more thing, Beho, and you can kind of talk us through it a little bit here. Tell us about the now collaboration with Better Than Vegas and Old Smoke Clothing. I think we just go to oldsmokeclothing.com/BTV.
Yep, and you'll scroll down there, and I think you'll see a picture of our T-shirt there. I don't bet, I win. It's a glorious design. These guys make quality gear. You know that. I know that. Any horse racing fan knows it. Now they're getting into the sports gambling side a bit as well. They approached us. Blackjack and I met them down at Gulfstream during the Pegasus. We hit it off with these guys. Here's what we've come up with. This is shirt 1. I see a lot more coming down the road. So just be ready. Get on board early. Get this shirt. Also, Gino has told us his shipping code still works. So if you type in promo code Gino, you'll get free shipping with it as well.
Free shipping. You save yourself the $5 shipping cost right there. And I think, was it Kurt Rossner over there?
Yes.
From Old Smoke? Great guys. Real big horse racing fans. They love racing. They're from the Saratoga area. So they named Old Smoke, their company, after the guy who actually created Saratoga Racecourse. And if you ever want to have some fun, look that dude up. Old Smoke John Morrissey. He basically taught himself how to read, how to write. He became he was a bare knuckle boxer, and then he got involved in the politics in the House and in Congress. He was involved in all these shady dealings. It was some total like billion succession stuff that he was doing years back. So check that out, oldsmokeclothing.com, and you can go right there and purchase that shirt. It really comfortable and super affordable, and that promo code GINO will save you a few bucks there. Fellas, I'm looking forward to the next few days.
I got one last little joke here. The MLB lockout lasted 99 days. Tom Brady's retirement, 43.
Not even half. Not even halfway home. Eric, I'm sure we'll be reacting to that news next week, and we'll have to kind of redo our NFC power rankings now. If Tom Brady is going to be back with the Bucs, that would definitely, in that division, that seems really weak and right for the taking.
Yeah, I mean, they're already down to 10-1 to win it all. They were 20-1 when you and I talked. So stuff's definitely changing. NFL can't let the college basketball have its moment.
Leo, don't you dare take that shirt off all week, my friend. You wear that bad boy.
He's coming on the backdoor cover tonight, by the way, which I'm sure we'll be talking more about this and Tom Brady and God knows what else with me, Leo, and Kyle. So
awesome. And the snip. We had Kyle on earlier today. Kyle got that ultimate equipment change, the gelding earlier on. So looking forward to watching the backdoor cover later on tonight. March Madness, fellas. Love it. Let's do it. Everyone, we will be your help all week long. If you're someone who is a big college basketball fan and you've been paying attention all year, you know that we've been here with you for cutting nets. You know that we've been watching and paying attention, and we're going to try to lead you to some nice plays to make some money. And hell, if you're someone who just fills out the brackets and you don't really know, that'll be perfect when we do our bracket breakdown. We'll navigate. We'll take you right through the bracket. That way, when you go talk with your friends, you'll have some cool tidbits to say. And we always want to help make you some money out there. Everything free at BTV. Good luck handicapping this next few days, fellas. And what do we got? Backdoor cover tonight. We got Mohawk Mania tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, getting you set up for that early pick 5. And then Tuesday, the games begin. March Madness is underway.
6 wins.